Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Melayna, and today I'm going to lead you through a bit of loving kindness practice. It's anyone's first time here? Hey, welcome. Why are you here? Or what brings you here? Not like, why are you here? Like, why are you here?
Just practice. So go ahead.
Whoever.
I've been meditating for about 25 years. I've been looking for a place other than my house to do it. So I found this place and I thought I'd try it out.
All right. Welcome. Glad you're here.
Yeah. For me, the practice, Metta. Yeah.
Awesome.
To do it with a group.
Okay. You want to share?
I don't meditate that often, but I can to try it out and support.
Awesome. Well, welcome. Glad you're here. I like saying glad you're here. Glad you're here is really important. It's how we show care for other people. And for me, that's really what metta practice is all about. Showing an active interest in those around us. Now, that doesn't mean we have to cater to people every day and, make sure they have their every need. But just a little bit of care in the right moments, because it's those small things that really make the huge difference for all of us. I can think to a couple of things. Just most recently, I was at my yoga studio, and there was an elderly woman, and she, at the end of class, she had her head in her hands, and everybody else just kind of walked in and out. And I stopped, and I was like, "Are you okay?" Because I was concerned with whether she was okay. She was going to make it out of there all right. And, it kind of snapped her out of whatever was going on. And I talked to her for a minute, and she calmed down, and we all went about our day. But in that moment, we show a little bit of care. And it doesn't take a lot. I had a friend that was going through some tough personal time. And now, granted, I hadn't seen this friend in a while. We hadn't hung out in a really long time. But I decided to reach out anyway. And I said, "Hey, why don't we go to yoga? Why don't we get some cacao?" And it broke her out of her suffering, out of her pain. And she was able to kind of laugh for a moment. This is what care looks like. It's a question I get very often is, what is loving kindness? What is love? What is this? What is that? How do we show it? And recently I've been actually finished this book. This is called Loving Kindness. It's a metta practice for the whole of our lives. It's by Kevin Griffin, who you may or may not have heard of. He largely writes recovery stuff, but this is not a recovery book. This is kind of breaking down a few of the suttas or sutras relating to metta practice. And there's a little bit here where he kind of defines what love is. So I'll read it to you now. This is what I think love is. When we are hungry, we feed ourselves. When thirsty, we drink. When sick, we seek care and medicine. When tired, we rest. When we are anxious, we try to calm ourselves. When we are sad, we try to make ourselves happy. When we feel spiritually barren or lacking, we seek teachings and practices to find peace and wisdom. In all these ways we care for ourselves. That's what I think love is, caring. And this caring for ourselves is the most natural thing. We don't have to like ourselves or believe we are worthy to get a glass of water or go to bed. And that kind of brings us to another point I wanted to make before we start meditation tonight. Oftentimes in the West, we have large problems with self-hatred and a lack of self-love, self-confidence, appreciation for ourselves. This largely has to do with the type of society we often grade ourselves and our worth and our value by the externals. What do I have? How am I worthy? I have to prove my value. And we all have an innate value. Because you exist, you deserve loving kindness. And it's literally the bare minimum that you can give anyone is just care, time, appreciation, and just the slightest bit of effort. And that's really the whole of the practice, is paying attention. But to keep it on the self, it's interesting to think. So the Buddha and his disciples and the people who followed him, they could not fathom a world in which people did not love themselves. It's a very strange thing to them. And you can even see videos of the Dalai Lama today. And there's one where the Dalai Lama, he does a lot of Q&A. And the translator is struggling to translate and make sense of a person saying, how do I get over self-hatred? How do I love myself more? And he finally gets to it. It's like, it's the self-hatred. Dalai Lama just says, don't do that. Because he cannot fathom that anyone would be able to conjure up, it's like, obviously you're choosing to hate yourself because this is not the natural state of things. But in the West, we're a bit different. We don't have this innate appreciation of ourselves. And so what Kevin Griffin does that I think is really interesting is that and oftentimes when he'll lead a loving kindness meditation, if you're not familiar with Kevin Griffin, he's a Buddhist teacher in the Theravada Buddhism, does a lot of stuff in LA, Joshua Tree, I believe, and insight meditation, Vipassana. And but when he leads Metta, he will switch the order of the meditation. So in a traditional loving kindness, we start with the self, then we do benefactor, neutral person, difficult person, all beings. He'll put the benefactor first so that you can practice giving these feelings of love to someone that you definitely won't be able to conjure them for. Because a lot of times we have a hard time conjuring these feelings of love for ourselves right away and that's really the whole of the metta practice, is practicing all of this here in a space that is quiet, where we have clarity, where we can be clear, so we can go out in the world and do our little acts of kindness that are going to help get people through the day. I know a lot of people say, what are these small acts? What difference can they make? And that brings me to when I was in college. I studied anthropology, and I took all these classes on culture, and they go, how does cultural shift happen, right? How does a cultural change happen? Someone does something, and they go, that's kind of cool. I'm going to keep doing it. And then somebody takes notice, and they're like, hey, that's kind of cool. I'm going to do that too. And then 100 years later, everyone's doing it, and no one knows why or when it started. But now it is the culture. It is what everyone does. So the little act of kindness that you do today, the little act of care that you do tomorrow, the grocery cart you put away that somebody left out, the trash you pick up off the ground, the dollar you put in the homeless person's cup, the peanut butter and jelly you hand out on Thursday. All of these things are small acts that can eventually lead to something greater. And so they're not fruitless. They definitely make a difference. And then they at least make a difference for one other person. If you can make a difference for one other person in one moment, in one day, then we're at a higher bit of net kindness, because that's what we're going for overall. More peace, more kindness. And anytime you're adding more peace and more kindness, there's less hatred, there's less evil, there's less ignorance. I always said that if you had a jar full of hatred and you kept putting more hatred in it, it would just continue to overflow with hatred. But if you have a jar full of hatred and you start putting love and kindness and compassion and wisdom in it, eventually you're going to dilute it to a point there's not going to be any hatred left. It might take a while, a longer timeline than I think a lot of people would like. But, time's not real, so forget about all that. No, but in all seriousness, it just makes things a little better. And the things that we struggle with today are not as crazy as we think we are. We think it is. It's just that we see it. The people who lived through the fall of Rome didn't know it was the fall of Rome, but they continued on. They kept going. And I'm sure there were moments of joy and moments of happiness and moments of peace, even though they were just like, one day they were like, why is the aqueduct not flowing? So it's a little things. But then, aqueduct's not flowing. Your neighbor's like, hey, I know of this other water source over here. Why don't you help me? We'll go get some buckets. We'll figure it out. And it's just a little bit of working together, the community, a sangha, being together, meditating together, doing things together for ourselves, the community, and taking care of each other. And you don't have to like yourself while you do it. It'd be nice if you did, and hopefully you'll get to that point. But you don't have to like yourself while you do it. Just do one thing. So yeah, that's where I'm going to stop for now. And we'll get into meditation. How I do my loving kindness meditation, I don't speak a lot. I will occasionally prompt you. I'll do it in, it'll probably be approximately 25 minutes or so. I like to give 5 minutes for each segment. I am going to switch the order of the meditation today. So I'm going to start with the benefactor and move into the self, and then neutral, difficult, and all beings. Feel free to take a cushion for meditation or not. If you need to move, if you feel like you don't like the cushion halfway through, it's okay. If you have an itch, please scratch it. We're here to take care, so please take care of yourself during meditation. With that, we're going to kind of start with the breath a little bit, go from there. And let me get myself set up so that I know how much time has passed, even though I have multiple clocks. It's just, like I said, time has no meaning. Stopwatch. That's what I want. Okay. And welcome everybody at home. I'm sorry I didn't do that. So thank you for being here. We're glad you're here as well. I feel like I'm having like a Mr. Rogers moment right now. I'm like, and now off to imagination land. But with that, I'll start with 3 invitations of the bell. I will finish with 3 invitations of the bell. Just be with yourself. Say the words if you want. Say the words quietly to yourself if you want, or just sit with it. Usually, when I do metta, I just sit. And sometimes I contemplate. Sometimes I just clear everything out. But with that, we'll get started. Take a moment to settle into your body, settle into this space. Note if you're comfortable, if you're not comfortable, and take some breaths. Focus on your in-breath and your out-breath. Begin to call to mind a benefactor, someone you care about, someone who's benefited you in some way. Recognize that just as you wish to be happy, this person also wishes to be happy. And without expectation, without judgment, offer them the phrases of loving kindness. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. Let this person go. Bring your awareness to your mind and your body. Recognize that because you exist, you are worthy of kindness and you are worthy of care. Offer yourself the phrases, may I be safe, may I be happy, may I be healthy, may I live with ease. Now, begin radiating loving kindness outwards. Bring to mind a neutral person, someone you don't know that well. Could be a coworker, a clerk at the grocery store, or someone you see that just goes the same places as you. Recognize that just as you suffer, this person also suffers and desires for that suffering to end. Offer them the phrases, may you be safe, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you live with ease. Let this person go. Bring to mind someone you find troublesome or irritating or even annoying. Recognize that this person desires to be happy, just like you desire to be happy. Without expectation, receiving anything in return. Offer this person the phrases: may you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. Let this person go and begin radiating feelings of care, compassion, metta to all beings in all directions, from the largest to the smallest, the kindest and gentlest, to those we disagree with, all beings, large, small, on this planet and maybe others. Recognize that all beings suffer, and they all desire to be free of that suffering. Without expectation and without condition, offer all beings the phrases of loving kindness. May all beings be safe. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be happy. May all beings live with ease. Slowly bring your awareness back to your body, your mind, in this space, in this present moment. Take a few deep breaths. And whenever you're ready, open your eyes and return to the space. Take a moment in gratitude to thank yourself for your practice today. Feel free to stretch, move around. You know, a couple other moments happened to me this last week. They reminded me of how important kindness and care and attention and what many have called active interest is. I went and got a coffee the other morning. And as I was waiting for my coffee, another person came in to, I presume, get a coffee. And they had a bagel. And the barista was like, "Oh, hey, you got a bagel. Where'd you get that bagel from?" And he's like, "Oh, I got it from Goodwill coffee shop over there." He's like, "I think the neighborhood's called University Heights. It's on like the main street over there." And me, living here, we're in a very small space, mind you. I go, "Park in Madison." No one even looks at me. No one acknowledges that I said anything. And they just continue their conversation. For a moment, I think, did I die on the way over here? And I'm just like going through the motions of having a coffee. But it's that little bit of inattention, whatever they were wrapped up in. Taking a moment to just acknowledge that I'm a human being in the room as well would have made a world of difference. Now, I'm pretty sure I'm still alive right now, but you guys let me know. But it was just one of those things that it just takes a bit of awareness, a bit of presence. Similarly, today I was walking down the street and I was walking up to the corner. Gentleman's crossing the street, headphones in, backpack, walking. We're kind of set on a trajectory to meet the same point at approximately the same time, right? And it gets to a point where he's walking this way, and I wasn't expecting him to just charge forward, but I'm this far from him, and he just continues walking. And I just go, "Oh, excuse me." And he doesn't even turn his head. He doesn't even look at me. He has no idea I'm there. Had it been 2 seconds later, or I'd been a step or two faster, we would have run into each other. And so even these minor things that we do in our day-to-day can show a little bit of care. Just being aware that there are other people in the world, being aware that there are people around us, being aware that, maybe whatever is going on in my life isn't more important than just acknowledging the existence of another person. And I think that's where we sometimes will get lost in this self-care narrative where we're like, it's all about me and I need to take care of myself and I need this thing and I need that thing. Well, what we don't truly realize is that taking care of others is taking care of ourselves. Paying attention to others is taking care of ourselves. Because if you sit there and you're trapped in your own ego, thinking that your ego needs this and your ego needs that, then you're trapped in your ego. And your ego is going to say that eventually say, I'm entitled to this. I'm entitled to that. No one's entitled to anything. We're all worthy of love and kindness, but none of us are entitled to anything. And it's just interesting to watch when you like walk around in the world and see how people interact, and you start to become aware of our interactions every day. You know, if you ever just like sit on a corner, sit in a park and just watch the way people interact with each other, the way people walk, the way they're even like interacting with their own children sometimes. You know, you see people walking a stroller with their, you know, their phone in their face, and they're not even paying attention. I'm like, do you even know if your baby's in there? It just kind of, it's our challenge. There's so much to distract us in this world from what is actually going on. And that's why we can kind of get lost in our own stories. The stories we tell ourselves about what is happening, instead of just watching and observing and paying attention to what's actually going on. Yeah. With that, I'll shut up for a bit and just kind of turn it over to you guys and see kind of what you'd like to talk about today. I'm happy to answer any questions about Buddhism, Metta, loving kindness, the temple itself. You can also just share kind of any thoughts on the meditation. I know I did a little differently than is traditional, so you're welcome to share on that. But yeah, the floor is your guide. So feel free to, you know, just speak up, raise your hand, whatever you want to do. I'll call on you if that's what's comfortable. You don't have to like introduce yourself or anything. You can if you want to. But yeah, now I'll shut up. I promise. So off to you. Oh, and also anyone at home, you're welcome to type anything in the chat, and I'll do my best to address your question. Okay, now.
But I feel grateful for the timing of it, going through like a break/change with my relationship with my significant other, with my boyfriend, and I feel that a lot of the patterns we were in was sort of based off of not seeing the humanity and being also the other person, especially me towards him. I was really playing a lot of my ego out on him and trying to kind of, you know, almost use that other person's my advantage in a way. And I think by seeing being next to another person and not me, just allowing feeling happy has been really helpful with this transition. So.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Glad you're here.
What would you say is the appropriate attitude to cultivate in order to reach enlightenment in your experience?
The appropriate way to reach enlightenment?
Attitude, the appropriate attitude.
Action to reach enlightenment. I don't know. I mean, I don't think I can really answer that. You know, to talk about enlightenment a bit, enlightenment, you know, a lot of times in a lot of Buddhist literature, you'll find people say that even if you reach enlightenment, you probably wouldn't know you did. So it's not really something to have as like, if you're seeking to awaken, then you're seeking, you're desiring. And as we know, second noble truth, the cause of all suffering, is craving and desire. So the appropriate action, I mean,
Attitude.
Attitude. I mean, the attitude would be to not seek, really, I think. And that's just my personal opinion. I'm nobody. I'm like, I haven't done any time in a monastery. I'm not, I'm not a teacher. I'm not a scholar. I simply read books and I talk, and that's really all I do. And I just kind of hang out here sometimes. But the attitude would be just to go through your day trying to think good thoughts, speak good words, and do good deeds. And the other side of that is that when you don't do those things, forgive yourself for not doing those things. Realize that you didn't do them. Realize that it's okay that you didn't. And figure out how to do it better tomorrow. The only purpose in this practice is to suffer less tomorrow than you did today. That's really the goal, if there is said to be any. And if you happen to enlighten along that path, great, cool. We're here to walk a path. If you're here and you're practicing, you're taking steps. The Eightfold Path is not a ladder. It's not like I'm going to do this thing, then do this thing, then do that thing. It's everything all at once. That's why it's eightfold. Essentially, it's aligned with eightfolds, and it's kind of how I look at it. And you have, view, intention, speech, action, effort, livelihood, concentration, and mindfulness. All of those things need to be incorporated as often as possible, as liberally as possible. And the attitude should be not looking at things in terms of like, is this good or is this bad? Did I do well at this or not? Because a lot of this practice is just getting rid of the idea of things being so cut and dry, of black and white thinking, of duality. I always say that Buddhism is not an either or practice. It's a both and practice. You can be both unsure of what you're doing as the best course of action and do the best course of action. You can think someone is doing something wrong and offer them compassion and care. But that doesn't mean that you're okay with that. You just kind of have to be open to everything around you, and also be humble in what you're doing. You're never going to, I think even probably the greatest masters will tell you, if they are to be great, I don't think they would call themselves great. They just want more peace on earth. They're not like, oh, I'm this great master, I'm this great thing. They're just humble. They just want peace. They just want less suffering. That's it. That's all anybody wants. And so don't look at it as a set of achievements, but look at it as a lifelong practice. You're walking in a direction for the rest of your life to try and end suffering. And it's also something you're probably not going to accomplish. You're probably not going to end all the suffering in the world, but you're still going to keep moving in that direction anyway. So, but yeah, I don't know what attitude cultivates enlightenment. I'm not on that trajectory. I think it's really a personal thing. I mean, they say the Dharma's a mirror, right? So you have to look at yourself and figure out, what does wise action, what does wise effort, what does wisdom and compassion and kindness, and what do all these things mean when I put them into action in the world? What is that? And that's going to be different for every single person in this room. And because we all have different situations. We're causal beings, right? Causes and conditions, dependent origination, all that stuff. We're all connected, and we're all being acted on by outside causes and conditions. And all of those things, all of those circumstances are different for each and every one of us. And so what is wise and what is compassionate and what is the best course of action is going to look different all the time. That's really the hardest part, I think, about this practice overall, is that I can't say, this is good, this is bad, and every time this happens, I'm going to do this. it's different every time, just because of the nature of reality, impermanence. All things are of the nature to change. And so you have to be willing to be resilient and not resist what's happening. I think for me, that was the biggest thing, was stopping resisting the flow of what is the reality of existence, reality which we can't perceive, but that's a whole other issue. But yeah, I hope that answers the question. Do you have any follow-up?
It reminds me of the Heart Sutra, kind of what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's an extremely elusive thing when you're describing it. It sounds like, just keeping that in mind.
Well, the Heart Sutra is called the Heart Sutra because it is the heart of everything. Yeah. Form is emptiness and emptiness is form. They seem contradictory, but they're not. I mean, they are contradictory, but they can exist simultaneously. And that's kind of the hardest part to grasp, is that things can be in contradiction, but both of those things can be true.
But you have to be open to that. It's being open to all of that.
Right.
Okay.
And not saying, but wait, that's true, so this can't be true. And resisting what you can plainly observe, is that both of those things can be true, or what you can, what you know could be true but can't observe. That's really confusing. Hang on. But that's why it's kind of like, you know, we do these meditations and we do these classes and we say, we try to keep it in a certain, you know, metta is a very basic practice, right? And it seems really simple, but then you start peeling back layers and you peel back another layer and you peel back another layer, and it starts getting a little bit trickier and a little bit harder to understand. And for me personally, I'm about 2 years in, and every time I think I've got it, I don't got it. So you have to be humble, not resist what, but I read this one thing and it said this, and then so that can't be. Just be open to what's going on, and really, it's just letting things flow through you. I mean, that's not attachment. It's not being attached to an outcome, not trying to control things, understanding that everything changes, and we don't have control over that always. There's definitely things we do have control over, but most of our lives and most of what goes on around us, we have zero control over. And letting go of the idea that we could somehow get a grasp on all of that is resistance to the nature of reality.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I guess first, I really like what you said about, you kind of answered a question I have, which is kind of like, well, what is the application of this? And one of the themes is it manifests itself in little nice things throughout the day, which kind of hits me nicely because I'm a service worker. And so the opportunity to practice that presents itself rather readily. But I did want to ask about the opposite side of that, and that is when you do get cut off by the pedestrian or the person doesn't notice your remark. Is there anything that you do in particular to kind of, you know, because we're in the zone of this, and for the next 20 minutes, as you often hear, we'll be really good about it, and then it'll wash away.
Yeah.
Is there anything you do in particular to remind yourself of, oh yes, kindness, yes, compassion, even in those moments of like minuscule, but you know.
Excellent. All right. So for those watching at home, what do I do in that moments when I am ignored, or like I talked about earlier? I try to think. I use empathy. So in a conversation I had here once, and I was going through facilitator training, right? And I was talking about morality and ethics. And we go, well, we all agree that murder is bad and that people who murder are bad. And I go, no. Because when I think of someone who kills another human being or does something bad to another human being, I think about what I would have to be feeling, what sort of condition I would have to be in to do something like that. Now, that's an extreme example, right? But there are people who kill out of desperation, who kill out of confusion, delusion, anger, ignorance, greed. Now, when people ignore me, I understand that one, it's not personal. They're not specifically going out of their way to ignore me. Most people who offend us, most people who irritate us, most people we find to be annoying are not trying to do that. 99.5%. We'll get that 0.5. They're out to get us. But most of the time they're suffering in some way. Or, something has happened in their life. Maybe they're dealing with a death. Maybe they're dealing with financial trouble. Maybe they have food or housing insecurity, or something else is going on in their life that is clouding their clarity, their judgment. And it doesn't make them a bad person. It just means that they're suffering. And I have to forgive them for that, because it's not about me. It's not about me at all. I just happen to be subject to the causes and conditions that they're putting out into the world, just like everybody else. And it's not easy. I want to be the most important thing in the room, for sure. It's kind of nice up here. But I'm not the most important thing in the room. Probably this camera actually is, I would say. But, before it comes up, it's just offering, the type of forgiveness and grace that you give yourself. You need to give that to other people. It doesn't mean you have to, sit there and be like, oh, thank you so much for ignoring me. It taught me so many great lessons. Just go on with your day. Forgive them. Know that they're suffering. Know that any number of things could be going on in their lives that in that moment are more important than you, and they aren't paying attention. I used to get so mad at people not paying attention, because I think a lot of problems in the world could be solved if we had just paid attention to one another. But there's so much going on that it's not something we can control. We can't control what other people are going to think. We can't control what they're going to do. We can't control the stories they're going to tell themselves. And we can't control the circumstances that they're facing. We can't control the circumstances we're facing. And so we have to offer compassion in those moments and offer forgiveness in those moments. Like, I forgive you for ignoring me. I understand that you might be going through something that I have known nothing about. And yeah, that's part of the practice in loving kindness. That's the hard part of the loving kindness, is offering it. Yeah.
I was walking down the street heading on the country with a colleague from that country, and it's about 10 o'clock in the morning, and a man stumbled out of the bar, barely made his way across the sidewalk, and then collapsed on the curb. And my friend, colleague from this other country, turned to me and said, I wonder what he's been through to bring him to this.
Precisely.
It was about compassion and knowing he's suffering, not, oh, we gotta get this dirt out here.
Thank you for sharing that. Is you something you'd like to answer?
Situation you described, I feel many times that I'm in a comedy show.
What?
That I'm in a comedy show.
Yeah.
So I'm not angry, I'm not this, it's like, this is comical. And it reminds me also of a story that Krishnamurti, some of you know who he was, he talks about the two people came to visit him, they're in a taxi in India, going somewhere, and they're deeply engaged in conversation about awareness. So engaged, they didn't notice that the taxi driver ran over a goat. So they were so aware.
Yeah.
So again, it's a comedy. Yeah.
Sometimes.
In some ways. Now, of course, if somebody is suffering, the way you describe it is a different story. Yeah? Sometimes I don't think we have to engage with other people's suffering. Okay, that's all there is.
Thank you. All right, well, that's it, guys. So I think with that, thank you for just joining in our discussion today. Thank you for being here. I'm glad you're here. But I will go ahead and close with a dedication of merit. So if you're comfortable, please bring your hands together at your heart. We dedicate this practice to all beings in all directions. May they be safe. May they be happy. May they be healthy. And may they live with ease. And quickly, before you head out, our host has an announcement.
Hello, everyone. I'm tonight's host, Jana. We opened the Dharma Bum Temple 19 years ago to introduce Buddhist practice to those who show up. Those who lead are not nuns, monks, gurus, or teachers, and are not looking for students. They're simply practitioners sharing their interpretation of the practice. Every night we have different classes led by different people from various Buddhist traditions. We have a recovery sangha that meets several times a week for anyone with addiction. Our food redistribution program is every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. We have classes and programs every day, and everything we offer here is always free. We have silent meditation Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. and noon. The full schedule is on our website and also posted in the entryway above the shoe rack. We also have a lending library. If you see a book you like, feel free to borrow it and then bring it back whenever you are done with it. Please straighten your seat or cushion before you head out. If a few people could stay to close and lock the windows, that would be helpful. Thank you for being here. We wish you well and hope to see you all again.
Thank you.